Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Atmosphere, what's going on? Good morning. Right? So, today, on this Wednesday at 11 o'clock Eastern Standard, I'm going to talk about fear. And first off, let me start by giving a definition of fear, which may or may not shock some of these people out here, right? So, fear as a noun is an unpleasant emotion caused by the belief that someone or something is dangerous, likely to cause pain or a threat. It also has a feeling of anxiety concerning the outcome of something or the safety and well being of someone. The likelihood of something unwelcome happening. The archaic meaning of the word is a mixed feeling of dread and reverence. To be afraid of as likely to be dangerous, painful, or threatening. Feeling anxiety or apprehension on behalf of, I feel, or to avoid or putting off doing something because one is afraid. So that is the definition of fear, right? And for a lot of us, we understand that fear is a mesmerizing. It's something that will hold us at bay. For some of us, it may it makes us not even want to do something as far as pursue a dream, obtaining goals, or something as simply as improving on ourselves because of that word fear. It'll make you stop what you're doing because of what others may think about what you're doing or what others perceive that's not your normalcy, right? Well, if we go ahead and start by doing things in our normalcy, change is a norm. Well, change for some of y'all, but y'all know I use the word improve. Improve should be a normalcy, right? But because we're so worried about what other people think, it causes a fear in us not to upset someone or some things that is in our immediate area, right? So let's just say if I decided to want to speak Spanish and I speak Spanish and people would look at me like, what is wrong with you? They It would be a fear of mine not to continue to learn it or to speak it around said people. One, because they don't know what I'm saying, but also because they may think that I'm weird. So I would stop what I'm doing because the fear of just that normalcy, right? But let me first go back. Let's go back, right? I believe fear has different entities, right? Let's just start with the fear of the unknown. Many people are afraid to die because they do not know what is going to happen. So fear of death is what allows people to not, you know, it makes you want to live forever. You do whatever you can, right? Not because you want to be healthy, but because you're afraid. You don't know what happens when you breathe your last breath. That's the fear of unknowing, right? That's the unknowing. So, but what about the fear that you do know, right? The fear that you know you have you're conscious of, but you're still afraid to do it just because, right? For example, when you are young, there are people that are afraid to get behind a motor vehicle, the steering wheel, because of the fear of they going to hurt themselves. They don't know how to do this. They don't know how to put the car in drive. That's a form of fear, right? Correct. Atmosphere. The fear of failure. That is one of the major fears that we all have. We all have that fear, right? So if you wanted to start a YouTube channel, right? I'm gonna speak about me. Let me speak about me real quick. I had gotten advice from plenty of people to go ahead and do my channel because I do things, I seem to encourage people. But my fear of starting a channel was, what if I'm not accepted? What if I fail to reach the people that I need to reach? But even in the beginning, I had to overcome that, right? Because I know that if I reach one person, I've done my job. But the fear of not even reaching that one was so heavy on my mind that I was hesitant to start my live. I was hesitant to start the channel just because I was so afraid that I couldn't reach that one. I couldn't that one would not even be receptive of what I'm saying. But you truly have to be thankful that you can overcome a fear like that, because just imagine if I didn't. I wouldn't have met so many different people. It's not about the return of what I am doing as far as meeting people. It's the return of me being a person that can actually say, you know what, even if I failed, I overcame the fear because I tried it. There's so many people that's so worried about the result before they even put a foot or put something in motion, that they don't even circle the wagons to start the trials and tribulation, because fear has been a yoke among many of our necks. It has held us down. It's like a ball and chain on our ankle. It's held us from doing the things that we really wanted to do, right? There's so many people that want to go out and venture on their own, but they're afraid to fail because they don't. If they do that, they may lose everything. S- You know, Sometimes we have to understand that failure is a necessity in life. It's a necessity because you can learn from failure. You can even grow from failure because it allows you to say, you know what? Now that I failed that driver's test, I know what I need to do to be a better driver. So then when you go out there and hopefully you take the test again, you pass. So in other words, you have to overcome the fear by actually stepping into it. That's the conscious fear. That's the fear of the mind. So we already spoke about the fear, the unknowing, right? We spoke about the conscious. But guess what? There's also good in fear. Fear is a dual. Fear has duality. Shout out to the word who kindly takes the time to explain what duality is. Right? There's duality in everything, and so is it in fear, because you can fear something and gain courage up for it at the same time. Right? So now that you encourage yourself to go ahead and start your channel, you're no longer in fear of it. So when you encourage yourself, no longer are you afraid to get on a plane because you overcame it. I know there are phobias, that's really heavy. I'm not talking about those type of phobias, even though I just said, flying, right? You got arachnophobia, you got fear of heights, you got fear of enclosement, things like that. I'm just talking about the fears like you going ahead and pursuing your dream. That's I don't think there's a phobia for it. And if it is, I'm wrong. I apologize. But the fact that you are willing to take those steps to pursue your dreams and pursue your goals, you can overcome your fears. You can be you can make a best out of a bad situation. And fear is a bad situation, but the best part of it is that you can overcome it. But a lot of us are so afraid to overcome something that because we allow it to be a stagnation. In my opinions, when you have stagnation around you, it grows into it births a worry, and that worryation allows it to birth into a fear. So there's a process to a fear. You have to learn a fear in order to for it to reach its max. The same way you do that is the same way you can overcome it, right? So if you're not stagnant, that means you're consistent, right? And when you're consistent, you're no longer worried about a situation. You're more proactive towards it. So now when you're proactive towards it, your fear turns into an encouragement, because now that you are encouraged that you can do it, the fear no longer exists inside of you. So there are so many of us that goes through those situations, but if we have those processes of what I just said, the 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 opposite of stagnation is to be consistent. The opposite of worry is to, give me a second. What I just said, worrying. The opposite of worrying is to be encouraged. And then finally, you're no longer in fear, but you're going forward. When you in fear, you stand still. But when you are consistent and process is going, that means you're in motion. So those are the three opposites of the fear factor, in my opinion. Now I could be wrong, and maybe sometimes we can overstep boundaries. But like I said, there are good in fear, right? So what's another good thing? If you get on a roller coaster and you can withstand that 90 seconds, you have just overcame a fear. There are many different fears in our lives. The question is, what's holding us back? If we're afraid to start our business, it's because we're worried about the funds and opportunity. But if you game plan for fear, you can eliminate some of it in a slow and steady process. But because we're so afraid, we don't even game plan, because we're not even going to attempt it. A lot of people are afraid to fall in love because they don't want to be heartbroken. A lot of people feel like it's so many different variations of fear, right? Let's go to another a variation of fear. You should fear your parents, not to be afraid of them, but to understand that their love for you is not a fear. It's simply for your well-being. That's a good type of fear, right? For example, if we got children, we want to make sure that everything is cautious with them. So of course we're gonna, if they're in the kitchen while you're cooking, of course you're gonna tell them to stay away from the stove. Of course you're gonna tell them to stay away from your ovens. Why? Because you don't want them to be burned. So it's a fear for you to be cooking around your children because you don't want harm to come to them. That's a good fear. You want to protect your child, so you do everything possible so that they don't get in harm's way. That's a good fear. Because if you didn't care, you would let them do what they want to do. You would allow them to run amok, not caring if they get injured, hurt, or whatever. Right? I'm just saying this because we have to understand that in fear there's a duality in things, right? There's, in religion they tell you to fear God, but you should fear God because God wants the best in you. He wants the best for you, not to fear his wrath, even though that is in scripture, but to understand that when people want the best for you, they are going to do anything possible to allow you to receive it. So sometimes you will have to put the fear of something into somebody just for them to stay on course, right? That's the duality of fear. But a lot of us don't even understand that, fear is a necessity in our everyday life. We will combat it just to have its negative concept rolling along in our mind, hearts, and soul, using that adrenaline as a motivation. Exactly, atmosphere. Because if you allow the adrenaline of fear to stagnate you, you ain't gonna make no moves. But the adrenaline that you need to succeed can overcome that fear. You got to use the negative as a positive. But a lot of us, because we're so stuck on the negative aspect, we will never see the positive side of fear. We will never understand that that thing could get you moving. I don't want to move. You know how many people stay in their birth towns or where they was born or where they reside because they're afraid of change. I'm not afraid of change. Well, I don't like change, but like I said, for this conversation, I'm going to say change. But y'all know I say improve. You can improve your life because that's a change is a part of fear. How about that? Now that I'm sitting here thinking about it, change is a part of fear. How is change a part of fear? Because some people change and they're afraid that if they don't succeed, they will be worse than what they are. That's why I say improve. I say improves because there's no fear in the outcome of improvement. If you fear improvement, that means you don't want nothing right in your life. You see what I'm saying? All because fear has that stronghold on a lot of us. Fear has us saying, you know what, I am who I am, instead of improving your mindset to say, I am better, I can be better than what I am right now. I can earn more than I can earn right now. I could be more creative than I am right now. When you come on these apps and you trying to be a content creator, you have to improve each and every day, because if you keep saying the same thing, you keep doing the same thing, you will become stale, and then you will no longer receive the support that you need to go forward. That too can lead you into a fearful mind. Fear has been working on us, each and every one of us. There's no If anybody says they have never feared something, then you are the exception to the rule. You are a person that can run around the world with no fear. Go on out there and jump in front of that car and see if it don't hit you. You don't fear it, so don't move. When we was younger, we used to play a game called chicken, right? All because we wanted to see who was brave enough to stand their ground. But when you fear something, you can stand your ground too, right? That fear can have you stuck right in that motion of non-movement, all because you are afraid to fail. These are the things that we have to overcome. I fought hard to overcome the stuttering that I feared that I would have, because I am trying to reach people, because I want to do my best. And even when you do your best, the fear is still going to be there. But your best can overcome your fear. I always tell people this: if you do your best, God will do the rest. That's simple, right? If you are doing everything that you need to do, fear cannot win. God has your back. That is a thin line, atmosphere. But the fact is, people don't even know that people may not even understand how close those two really are. Like people say, it's a thin line between love and hate, right? It's not the same as this, right? So, like, there's an expression that we all say, right? There's nothing to fear but fear itself. What the what does that even mean? There's nothing to fear but fear itself, which is crazy. Like, how do we come up with these sayings? What does it mean? There's nothing to fear. Let's look this. Let's have that conversation. Nothing to fear but fear itself. What is the meaning of that? Right? Teddy Roosevelt came up with that statement. He's credited for that. And he said that when it was the worst time ever. He said that during an oppression. There was people, it was people running around worrying about if they had a next meal. This man just came out and said there's nothing to fear but fear itself. Did he give a solution of overcoming fear? I don't know. He started for those that don't know, they credit FDR for, you know, welfare and all of those things during the time of depression. But if you give somebody an outlet, fear can no longer exist in your life. To overcome fear, you must be able to have adversity. To overcome fear, you shouldn't. To be afraid to fail is what holds you there. But to be encouraged to succeed can overcome any of these situations. So here's my question to everybody: Why are we us? Why do we fear to succeed? If we are supposed to be positive people, we should be using fear in a positive light. It's just like playing spades. You can be dealt a hand with no spades. You can play it. That doesn't mean you're not going to make a book, right? You may have an ace in the hand, for the most part, unless somebody's cutting off the top of off top, your ace should make it. So you have a possibility of making it. So when we say I have a possible one, we know we're going to do everything we can to make that one. We're not fearing the fact that this may be cut. So why should we fear anything in life? We should not be fearing anything or anyone to that manner, right? Because you gave somebody your heart, you should not be in fear of them breaking it. Because you gave somebody a thought process, you should not be feared that they are coming to get you. But fear reigns with a lot of people. And because fear reigns, it brings scaredness. It allows fear makes you scared of people. It makes you scared of a situation. It makes you scared of things that you are not supposed to be afraid of. But that's the duality of a thing, right? You can't have hope if you ain't scared. That balances it out, right? You can't be encouraged if you are not fearing something. That balances out. We need to take the fear and turn it into encouragement. It's like when when Intrinsic used to come on and she used to say your affirmation words. You say the affirmation words because you know that you can become that. But if you say it with no conviction, you're in fear of believing that you can be that. You understand? We have to find ways to overcome those situations. We have to find ways to say that fear is not just, we can turn fear into success. Fear is a duality word, whether we understand it or not. Like I said, shout out to Word for allowing us to understand that words have duality to it, meaning it has a good word, it has a good meaning and a bad meaning. Turn your fear into a motivation. Motivate yourself to say, you know what? I am going to get this promotion. Instead of saying, I'm worried that this person that they have in front of me is going to succeed. That's fear. We should not be living off of fear. There's no need for us to live off of fear. If we live off of fear, then we're wasting time because we're not going to succeed in anything. You understand? If we don't succeed in anything, what's the point of doing this? We have to allow, we can't allow fear to paralyze us. It paralyzes your mind to doom and gloom. We have to understand if we are in doom and gloom, progress can never happen. Success will never happen. Love could never happen. Increase could never happen. You have a whole storehouse of abundance inside of you. But if you fear, you padding the lock on the door of your storehouse, which means you will never get to use your gifts. You will never be able to be a blessing, and you will never succeed at anything. Commander, good morning, 9. And those are the things that we have to understand. We have to turn that fear into a motivation. In the book, the little engine that could. I think I can. I think I can. He encouraged himself to get up the hill because he feared that he would go backwards on the hill. But because he spoke life into his fear, he encouraged himself to go up and over the hill. So now he can see what the next problem is. Well, I got over the hill. Oh, wait a minute. How do I slow down? Oh, I forgot. I got brakes. We so worried about fearing the unknown. We are so worried about fearing the progress, the process, that we stop before we even take a step out. You know, for a woman that bears her first child, it has to be a fear of that pain that's going to come, but the blessings inside of the fear, right? Because when you birth that child, you forgot all about the fear. The blessing outweighs the fears. Y'all have to remember that blessings outweigh the fear. If you understand that, fear cannot be the A1 de facto in your life. There's people out here willing to give up on things because they fear that they're not succeeding. That's just how it goes. If you in a relationship, you fear that the relationship ain't going nowhere because you're doing everything on your own or you're not receiving what you was giving out. That's a fear too. But as long as you put that fear into motion, the fear can die down each and every second. The question is, why are you not putting the fear in motion? There's people that they want to drive, but they don't want to drive on a highway. That you have now just limited your travel area. If you, let's say you live in New York, you got to get to New Jersey. You need to get on that highway. You got to cross a bridge. You so worried about the bridge or traffic or whatever you fearing that you missing out on something. You missing a destination that you need to go. Good morning, Shay. That's the thing that we have to understand. Fear is the work of a negative entity in your mind and your body and your soul. But guess what? You can use fear to motivate you. There's a good fear. If I should, fear could turn into excitement. That's just the bottom line. Your fear could turn into excitement. So now that I crossed the finish line, I'm a winner. Now that I dotted every T, I dotted every I and crossed all my T's, I made a sentence. Now I make sense. Now I can go ahead and write a paragraph. When you overcome your fears, there is so much progression that is in front of you. There's no need for you to look behind you. The greatest thing that God gave us was a sense of forwardness. If you really think about it, when is your conscious, when is the living God, the spiritual aspect of God ever told you to go backwards? You only go backwards because you fear what's in front of you. You have to understand there's nothing to fear in front of you. You can overcome anything that's in front of you. Why? Because you can be able to see it. Your discernment of fear, it's so great that fear will no longer exist in you when you keep your eyes on the prize. Whatever your prize is, whether it's starting a business, whether it's starting a conversation on YouTube or in life in general, or is it if it's something just as saying good morning to somebody. I know people that's afraid to smile because a look on a person's face will disrupt them from smiling. That's one fear that I would wish on nobody, but there are people that have those type of fears. There are people that fear because, if I do the right thing, people are going to use me and abuse me. I'm not living that life. God has allowed me to Be a person of goodness, of positivity, of energy, not of negativeness. So I'm not going to allow that to go to waste. I know people are going to talk about me. I know people are going to frown upon me. I know people that's going to take my kindness for a weakness. But I can't let that fear stop me from going and doing the things that I need to do going forward. Even in trials and tribulations, I'm still going to smile because if I don't, I know that fear is going to win. I know that that stagnation is going to give into birth worryation, and worryation is going to birth the fear of standing still and not doing nothing to progress myself in my everyday life or in anybody's life. You have to be an overcomer of fear. Overcoming is a gift too that a lot of people don't know how to use. They don't think it exists, but it's in you. I tell you guys all the time, you guys are storehouses. You got to know what's being stored within you. Go on in there and look. Even if it got cobwebs, you could clean it off and still use it. It may not have worked for a long time because fear had you thinking that it was impossible for it to work. But the adversity in your life could say you can overcome things. You're right, atmosphere, adversity. You understand? It's the fact that you can overcome that will stagnate the fear that's holding you back. But you guys gotta want it. I can't want it for you. I could love somebody, right? But if they don't love themselves because of fear of being rejected or hurt, what does it matter? We are here to add, not to encourage fear. We are here to add progression into people's lives, not to encourage the fear of, yo, you just gonna be where you are. It's so many people that's homeless because they fear that people are not going to accept them as they are. So they won't even try to improve themselves. They won't get themselves together, whether it's because of financial reasons or abuse, mind, body, and soul, whatever. They will stay where they are because they're comfortable with the fear taking over their lives. And some of us are homeless. We're homeless in our minds. We're homeless in our hearts. We're homeless in our souls, all because we have allowed fear to stop us from doing the things that we need to do to progress in our everyday life, especially in the spiritual realm of knowing thyself or improving thyself or uplifting ourselves. Shout out to Shay. She just did a wonderful motivation. She's trying to tell us that if you don't examine yourself, you don't know what's wrong with you. That fear is never going to leave your mind. It's never going to leave your heart. It's never going to leave your soul, all because you don't take the time to examine what the problem is. Tay, good morning, Nine. And that's the thing that we have to do. We have to take that fear and turn it into a motivation. It may not be, you may not look at it as a positive fear. If you don't want to look at it that way, call it motivation. That's why we need to keep examining ourselves. Okay, the fear of me moving to this new town is going, no, the fear, let's look at the motivation of a new beginning. I don't have to be stuck in a rut. Fear will leave you stuck in a rut, but a motivation could say there's a newness in front of you. We have to stop allowing the negative concepts of a word to rule our life. We have to find that negative and turn it into a positive. If opposites attract, that means a negative must have an opposite within it. So fear has to have a positive within it. You may call it motivation. You may call it an upgrade or whatever you're going to call it, but call it progress. Call it going forward. Call it you doing the best that you can do to get away from that fear. You know, Meek is like, I promise you, Meek was Meek was so worried about moving into another place. She feared it so much that she didn't even want to do it. But she motivated herself to do it, and now things are working in her favor. She turned the fear into a motivation. Oh, I don't know if I can make it here. Even when you're in the process of motivating yourself, there's still going to be some doom. There's still going to be doubt there. You be lying if you lying if you say that's not going to happen. But your consistency, like I said, the opposite of stagnation is your consistency. If your consistency turns into progress, your progress will turn into motivation, and you will be so far away from fear that it'll be in your rear view mirror. Just look up there and see how far you got away from it. Those are the things that we have to do to get away from fear. Those are the things that we have to do to allow fear to be a broken bondage between us and our everyday life. But because we stagnate and we sit still and a lot of us do victim Olympics, the fear doesn't do nothing but grow even more. I can't think of if y'all give me a word that's higher than fear, apply that, because fear can grow every day, but progress can grow every day too. Motivation can grow every day too. Elevation is what we need. Elevation on the positive side and not just the negative. We have to understand that if we continue to go forward, the further we go forward, the further we are getting away from our fears. The further we get away from the doom and gloom, the further we get away from the worryation of losing. Somebody I seen a commercial that said winning isn't everything. Winning isn't for everybody. The hell it ain't. Because if you ain't winning, what are you doing it for? If, it, there's no neutral between winning or losing. Tie is not an option. But if you fear to step your game up, you're always going to lose. If you have a fear of progression, of progressing in your your natural specialty, you're going to lose. You understand? And the fact is, you have to turn your fear into motivation. You have to look at the positive side of fear. The positive side of fear is overcoming it. You can overcome that fear. You can turn that phobia and move it away from you. People are afraid to fly all the time. But if you do it once, you are in motion to conquering that fear. If you ain't never had goodness in your life and you strive for it, you have overcome the fear of worrying that somebody's going to hurt you. We all have to do the work. Each and every one of us. If I point my finger at you, I'm talking to myself as well. I have to overcome that people are playing in my face. I have to stop worrying about that fear. If I continue to worry about that fear, it'll hold me so far back that it'll be a crying shame. The word, what up, nine? My 33 brother, what up, though? It's just a simple thing. If you can turn your fear into a motivation, you can dilute that negative fear and turn that fear into a positive motivation energy. That's all we have to do. It may sound easier said than done, but we have to do the work. We have to figure out how to turn that negative into a positive. It's not nobody else's job but ours to do just that. Okay, we're in pain because somebody did us wrong. Overcome that fear. Overcome that hurt. Well, everybody's gonna hurt me. Uh-oh, now you stagnated now. I just told you stagnation turns into worry, and worry and burst fear. You gotta overcome this thing. You you gotta elevate. You gotta be the occasion for fear to rise to. But if it can't rise higher than what you can be. We have to stop letting fear dictate to us, right? Because in our lives, we are the dictators. So a dictation should not be told to a dictator because he already understands or she already understands what needs to be done. We have to understand that we are the rulers of our lives. And if we are rulers of our life, then there should be nothing that worries us, that we should fear. We have to understand the only thing that we should be worried about is how much success can come our way. If that's the fear that I want. I want to fear how much success can I embrace? I want to fear how much love that could be received. What what does endless love look like? I fear that. What does endless support look like? I want to fear that. I want the positive side of fear. I don't want the, well, if nobody loves me, what am I going to do next? I don't want that. Since my brother's here, like I said, he's telling us that there's duality in this word. If there's duality in the word, let's look for the good. Let's look for the good side of fear. Wow. I wonder how many people I can help. How much I want the fear of knowing that I can help the entire world. Is fear taught or is it sometimes natural? Meaning, do we come into life fearing? I think it's both. I think it's both. Like I was saying earlier, you fear the unknown, right? Like I told you before, word. If I don't know what death is, I'm afraid because I don't know what it looks like. I don't know how to react towards death because I don't know what it's like. I've never seen it before. I mean, not literally, but figuratively. I never saw it before. So that's a natural thing, right? But the taught fear is real. That's how racism got here. You was taught to fear something you have no reason to fear. I wasn't taught to fear a white man. I wasn't taught to fear my own kind. But there's people that really believe they fear these other races for whatever reason because it's a taught thing. Oh my God, don't be near him. He got the heebie jeebies. Oh, why? Because I'm black? You understand what I'm saying? Those are taught things. So there's a duality in this fear. It can be taught and it can be naturally consumed, meaning it can be naturally given to you without it even being taught. Get a master splinter. Oh, I'm sorry. I was supposed to say that name. But anyway, you have to understand that you can overcome all of these type of fears, whether it's taught, whether it's natural, whether it's embedded, even if you think it's in your DNA. You can deactivate some of these things. You can not be able to use it, but it's up to you. Or you can just do what I said. I want to fear how much support I can get. I want to fear how many lives I can change. I want to fear that because it's so scary that I want to pursue it. That's the fear that we need to do. Let's have the fear of pursuing something so we can see how far we can get in this thing. Whether it's speaking good words, whether it's showing people how to cook, whether it's just talking about life in general, whether it's about God, whether it's about nature, whether it's about love. Let's see how many people we can reach. Let's have the fear of reaching the entire world. Let's strive for it. The same way we could sit back and allow fear to hold us down is the same way fear could allow us to push us to an upper room, to a higher limit. You understand? We can imagine that if we can see it if we try it. Anything is possible. So let's put fear into its good use. Let's believe that we could reach more than one person. We could reach the 6 people that's in my chat right now, or we could reach the 100 and some odd view people that subscribe to me. I want to see how far I can go with it. I want to fear that I can go higher than that. I want to strive for it. That's the good fear that I'm talking about. That's the duality that was taught to me about certain things. But right now I'm using the duality of fear. Let's strive for that. Let's see how high we could achieve this thing. Let's see how far our reaches can go. Let me see if I could touch somebody in California with a good word. I fear that good touch is going to allow them to elevate themselves. That's a fear that I want. That's the fear that I desire. I only see fear as a learned behavior Just observing my kids, they don't know fear until I taught them. Until they learn fear, they just try to figure it out, no matter if it's helpful or harmful. That's true. That's possible too, word. That's just like it's a lot of kids that fear the darkness of their room. It's not a taught thing. Sometimes it's an innate thing. You understand what I'm saying? Daddy, could you leave the door cracked? Daddy, could you leave the light on? Can I have a night light? You understand what I'm saying? That's why I say it's a natural thing. It's already in us to fear. If you don't have fear in you, what's the duality of your life? If you don't have nothing to fear, if fear is not natural to a person, then anything that they do should be in progression. Everything they do should be done correctly because they have no fear. If you don't fear a mistake, you'll never make it. Their ignorance don't allow them to fear because they don't know good or evil, similar to Adam and Eve in the garden. Oh no, hey, wait, hey, word, we ain't hey. I'm about to put this thing up so you can elaborate, but I'm gonna touch that before I do that, right? So Adam knew what his job was. He just never got around to doing his job. Because if we're gonna look at it, Adam never taught Eve right from wrong. And I mean, Adam never told her, yo, listen, if you know what the fruit was, why did he eat it? You know what that fruit was. You ate the fruit anyway. So you telling me that fruit was that one fruit, that fruit looked the same on every tree. It can't be the same on every tree. Right is good morning. If the fruit was on every tree, then nothing should have happened to them, right? Only because it came from the tree of good and evil. No, he had to know what that fruit was, but he never taught Eve what the reality was. And that's the thing that we have to do. We have to understand that in nature. So how do you fix fear? Right? The best way to fix fear, in my opinion, is to try it. You afraid of heights? Go to the second floor. Go to the third floor. If you're still afraid after that, you keep trying until you overcome it. Right? If you're afraid of a roller coaster, you go ahead and ride the roller coaster. I always use the roller coaster analogy because it may be 60 seconds. Now, if you still have that fear to after the 60 seconds, you may not get on it. But you might say, you know what? That eased my fear a little bit. Let me try that roller coaster over there. Or let me try that roller coaster over there. If you fear flying, get on the plane for the first time. If you land at your destination, you may have just overcame your fear. You have to try the fear you have to try it in order to see if you can succeed at it or not. So in other words, you have to be motivated to overcome your fear. Nah, I don't believe that word because he did what he was told. He did what he was told. He went out there, he was doing whatever he had to do. God told him that without saying a word, he was doing what he needed to do. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna disagree with that. He didn't fear God in that manner. See, that's the thing, right? Like when they say fear God, right? If he'd feared God the way that he was supposed to, he wouldn't have ate the fruit. But some people like some people got fear and love on the same wavelength. So if you try and fail, then is it not for you? It may not be for you. But what you did, if you fly and you overcame the plane, but you don't like the turbulence, but you don't fear it anymore. You see what I'm saying? You just don't like the turbulence. All right, I did it. I just don't like the turbulence. It's just like if you try vanilla ice cream and you don't like it. You don't have a fear of the vanilla ice cream. You just don't like the taste. You understand? That's why people might put chocolate and vanilla together. Like that's what atmosphere is saying. Try a different approach. So if I mix the ice cream together, hey, that chocolate and vanilla does taste kind of good. Like there's people that don't eat peanut butter, but if you add the jelly, you'll eat peanut butter and jelly. You see what I mean? Not that you're allergic to it, you just don't like the taste of a thing. If you mix it with something else, you'll like the taste. Like I've never been a person that I never really liked this thing, but now that I mixed it with something, it's edible, it's receivable. You see what I'm saying? The fact is, we have to try the fear to see if we can overcome it. You know what I mean? So that's the thing that we have to do going forward. Those are the things that we have to do. So if we allow that to happen, if we allow that to occur, and we can overcome a thing or two, we can say we came through that thing. But it's not that you didn't, you know what I mean? It's just something that clicks that say, you know what, let me go ahead and try that type of thing. Let me go ahead and see if it's worth trying. But you got to try it to see if you can overcome it. If you don't try it, you never know if you can overcome the fear. That's the thing that we really have to understand. That's the thing that we have to accept. We have to accept if we don't try it, that the fear is always going to be within us. Right? Just imagine if we was afraid of falling off of our bikes when we got off the training wheels. We would have never rode the bike. You did a couple pedals and you felt, oh, I can do it. Let me try it again. Let me try it again. Let me try it again. You see how you turned that fear into an excitement, a motivation? It motivated you to get up and do it again. You may have scraped your knee up. You say, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and try it again. This time I might find a way not to fall on my knee. This time I may find a way to balance my fear. That's a great way to look at the analogy of balancing your fear. Word, just come on up. Adam didn't fear God because if he did, no matter what, he wouldn't have ate the apple. If he feared God after he ate the apple, he feared. That's why they hid. Okay, he feared. No, he was enlightened to his nakedness. That's why he hid. He wasn't hiding from God. He was hiding from his nakedness. Because God's gonna find you, whether you perceive him to be a man, a myth, or legend. Your conscience is going to find you. If God is your conscience, it's going to find you. What the hell are you doing? You know good and well you wasn't supposed to be drinking and driving. Why did you do it? Because I thought I can do it. That's your conscience. That's the conscience that God has put inside of you. So you didn't fear it. You feared it. You thought you can get away with it, but now you fear it because you tried it. That turned into a thing. Yeah, Commander, send them to HR. But I'm just saying, we have to understand and over the fear of a thing is to turn around and to get rid of it. The only way to get rid of fear if you try it. If you try a thing, you can overcome a fear. Like I said, if you never get behind the wheel and you say you're afraid to drive, that's what's going to hold you back from driving. Trauma can hold you back from trauma could cause you a fear that you may never overcome. Diane, good morning. Oh, it's still 12. It's not 12. Good morning, Diane. Right? You have to understand that you got to try the fear. What the Bible say? Try a spirit to see if the spirit is of God. You have to try the fear and see if the fear is worth overcoming or not, pretty much. A little bit. You got to try and see if you can overcome a thing. And like I said, when you overcome it, it's no longer a factor in your life. You got to be the one that say, you know what, let me try this. Let me see if I can overcome the fear of worrying if somebody's ever going to treat me right. Or if somebody's going to say, you know what, you are a great person. As long as you in doom and gloom mode, you're gonna be stuck in a rut. All you doing is feeding the fear. You allowing that fear to become a giant in your life. It's gonna take that little slingshot to bust down that fear, which is even harder. But you only got to break it down once. That's why David is regarded as a giant killer, even though he did it more than once. Everybody forgets that David snapped the lion's jaw off, but he's only remembered for slaying the giant that's in his life. That giant could be your fear. What are we going to do to slay our giants in our life? What are we going to do? They covered themselves out of shame. What you ashamed of? Oh, you ain't nobody was ashamed. Word, trust me. They already knew what it was. They didn't know what it was. If you okay, well, let's look at it this way. If you didn't know what it was, now that you know, you what's the difference? They hid themselves because after knowing right from wrong, they hid in fear of God's anger. Ignorance won't allow you to fear 1 second. Oh, yeah, that might be two things. All right, cool. But I'm a agree to disagree with that word because like I said, I had a totally different concept behind the thing. I promise you. And I don't know why people don't think I'm surprised you don't think you didn't think that was possible. But the fact is, because of fear, you are going to withdraw yourself from trying to understand or trying to overcome whatever it is that you're fearing. Right? You want to know God, you fear what God has in store for you. If you do something wrong, find out what it is that you need to do right. That you won't have to figure out what needs for him to strike you because you was wrong. It's your job to overcome the fear, but it's also your job to know what to get away, how not to be around the fear as well. That's why I keep telling people. People think that they talking to God all the time. They could be like Shay said earlier. You could be talking to the devil. That's why you must try the spirit and see if the spirit is of God. If 2 or 3 is gathered in the midst, you should be talking to God, right? But who's to say there's 2 or 3 gathered talking to the right God? Because you can make your fear of God. You can make the enemy of God. You can make your house of God, your money of God. And that's all y'all talk about. Man, if I could make $1 million, yo, what if we could make 10 million though? What if we could make 100 million? You got to know who you're talking to. You got to know who's talking within you. And if fear is talking to you, you ain't got no chance because he ain't going to never tell you to overcome the fear. He going to tell you to sit still and see its salvation. And it ain't saving nothing but nothing. Because fear don't want you to have anything good for the most part. For the most part, the negative side of fear is not going to allow you to pursue anything positive. And if you got positive fear, it's going to make sure you do anything to not receive the negative side of fear. That's why I say fear is balance. It's a duality word. But if I could not be knowing what I'm talking about. It may not be making sense to some people. All I know is this though. If you don't overcome your fear, you will be sitting in it for a very long time. You will be missing some great things in your life. You will be missing things like how to receive joy because you fear that somebody's going to take it from you. You can have abundance, but you're afraid that somebody's going to raid your storehouse. But if you do the things that you need to do, that fear will diminish each and every second. But you got to try it. You gotta see if that fear is worth it. Like I said, there's people afraid just to speak to somebody because of rejection. But if you don't know if they're gonna say, you don't know if they're gonna say hi or not. But you just fear the rejection so much, you might be missing out on the next best thing for you. You don't know because you fear rejection, you fear hurt, you fear pain, you fear suffering. But you got to overcome that fear by going out there and trying. Just imagine if, like I said, any of us here that got a channel, what if we was afraid that we wasn't going to be received? Would we still be here? Ain't none of us just brand new to this thing. Ain't nobody just started yesterday. We had to overcome the fear of not being received by people. And because we overcame that, that fear no longer works. Now, there may be a new fear growing, like how could I be more consistent or things of that nature. But if you're doing your best, there's no need to fear it because your energy is going to make the rest be obsolete. That's why I said earlier, if you do your best, God will do the rest. You have to understand that fear can be, it should be, and if you want to progress, it must be a momentary stance in your life. As long as you make that as long as you put fear on that high pedestal of negativity, it'll stop you from reaching your goals. It'll stop you from saying, you know what, I can be, I am. That's why you got to use the affirmation words. I am an overcomer. I am a blessing. I am blessed. Because if you don't feel that way, you're going to be stuck in a rut and you may not come out of that. If you are victorious, you can no longer be a victim. You have to overcome the fear of being a victim all of your life. It may sound cruel and harsh. I apologize. But as long as you stay in that mode of victimhood, you cannot overcome to become victorious over it. If you can overcome fear, you have overcome all. There is a good kind of fear in some cases, right? Absolutely. There is. There is that good thing. My 33 brother, what up though?
What up, though? Hey, give me 1 second. Let run back in. Oh, come on, no, I can't see.
Yeah, so there is a good kind of fear. And that's what I was just saying, Commander. I was saying if you say, you know what, I fear that I can reach everybody. That'll allow you to strive for it. It may not be the fear that you know it to be, but it's a fear nonetheless. If you say, I fear that I could love my husband so much that he will never leave, let me see if it happens. You see what I'm saying? Or if you say, you know what, I love my kids so much, they will never do harm to me, or they will always see me as a person that loved them. Let me see how far I can go. That's a positive fear, in my opinion. But as I said on Words Live, my opinion may turn into someone's criticism. My opinion may not be a fact, but if you try it, it could be your truth. If it works for you, it turns into your truth. If God works for you, it turns into your truth. And sometimes we turn that truth into our fact, my fact. My fact is that I love each and every one of you, right? My truth is I believe I've done everything enough to show how much I care about you. I don't have a fear in that because I overcame that. Now, the only way that fear can exist is if somebody turns around and say, well, you ain't, you dispute it and and I allow that to become a fact in my life. You know what I mean? But go ahead, word.
Yeah, man. Damn, I can't believe I did that. I don't know. Damn it. I ain't ready. But hold on, give me 1 more second. Bro.
I got you. I got you. But that's just the thing, y'all. We have to know what fear is. We have to truly understand what the word is. Not the word that's on the panel, but the word. That word, fear. But even if you look it up, you're only going to see the negative word, the negative aspect of the thing, the worrying of this, the disapproval, the unwelcoming. Sometimes you can welcome a fear just so you can see how far it goes and see if you can defeat it, right? If just imagine how much Apostle Paul would have feared just staying in jail if he didn't believe that God was going to make a way for him to get through it. Sometimes your work will overcome the fear and drive you to have that positive fear. If the man didn't go around and march around and talk about God, he probably was saying, I can reach everybody. Let me go around and see who I can do. He did something that a lot of the original apostles didn't want to do. He went around the world. They wanted to stay in their own region. We manifest what we fear and hate in a lot of cases. So we have to be careful. You absolutely right, and that's what I'm saying. Because the thing that we hate the most is the thing that we gonna lock into and allow it to sit there and control our it, negative. Fear can guide your steps. The same way God can guide your steps, fear can guide your steps. That's why a lot of people don't understand that fear can be a god in someone's life. Oh, I don't think nobody could love me. So what do? You isolate yourself from people because you don't think that you can be loved by a person, whether it's a friendship, a family, a relationship with someone, whatever. All because that one moment that hurt you before, it stopped you from believing and knowing that what you wanted, it could be a reality. If you redirect your focus, you could turn your fear into a motivation, Commander. That's you are correct. That's what I believe as well. I believe that. If you turn around and say, you know what, I could turn someone's trash into my treasure. That's why I love Unbiased channel because Unbiased will turn something that may be worthless to somebody. She could turn it valuable for somebody else. She has no fear of making the effort of trying to do her best to achieve what she needs to achieve. That's the duality of fear, in my opinion.
My bad, bro.
No, go ahead. You good?
Yeah, fear is a learned behavior because before you got fear, you got ignorance. You ain't fearful of stuff until you think of it like this. When you see fire, people who never touched it, what they always try to do, they touch it. And then when they get burnt, then they fear getting burnt. Before you have fear, you have ignorance. Even in the garden, they didn't fear God until after they bit the apple and knew good of evil. Because even when they seen they was naked, that was shame. That's why they clothed themselves. When they heard God come in, they hid from him of fear of what they did. Before that, they didn't have no fear. Fear is learned.
All right. So let me ask you a question. What about the theory of your kids being afraid of the dark? Is that taught too? Because I don't know a kid. I don't know a person that taught their children that's never been outside their home to fear the dark. That's why they need a
My,
night light. Daddy,
I think
could you leave the light on?
what, and see, that's, I would say that's scenario too, because my daughter's not afraid of the dark. My son don't like being in the dark, but my daughter is not afraid of the dark. And I asked my son, "Why are you afraid of the dark?" Because he thinks something under the bed. Why he thinks something under the bed? Because we watched the show and seen monsters coming from under the bed. My daughter's ignorance don't allow her to fear. She move around like she can see in the dark. But when she get older and start learning different concepts, I'm pretty sure she will fear. Fear comes with knowledge. Without knowledge, people don't fear things. People like
Okay.
think about consequences, right? People don't fear consequences because they don't know them. Like it's sad to say, but think about even young boys in the hood who never really been in trouble. They have no fear until they get in trouble. Once they get in trouble, what they do? They start crying. I don't want to go to jail for the rest of my life. If they really had fear, that fear would have stopped them from doing whatever they was doing. But the fear doesn't come until after they realize what they did and it has a consequence. Now they have to face the consequence. Until you have to face, until you experience or encounter something and it's a reality, there's no fear, it's ignorance. Like I'm saying that even for me, when I was running around, I was running around. I knew like, okay, you can go to jail, but until I seen people going to jail around me, that didn't sink in. It was almost like a video game. Until
So
you
you
have
saying that
to go ahead.
you saying that you was ignorant to the fact of going to jail, so you
I
didn't
was
worry about
ignorant.
it.
I was ignorant to the fact of me going to jail because
Okay.
I never been put in a situation, even though I was doing stuff that could lead me to jail. Like I knew it was a possibility, but until it became a possibility for me, I didn't fear it.
So so what do you think if somebody just they're ignorant to the fact that they won't be going to jail forever? For example, you out there, you nickel and diamond out there in the street, right? Or you do a white collar crime. They ain't they know they coming home soon. So they don't have a fear to it. Is that what you're saying? Because they don't know no better?
Think about this, even the definition of insane. If I'm doing a crime, right, and I keep getting away with it, why would I think something could happen to me if I keep getting away with it? Until they start looking at me or putting pressure on me, I don't think I'm going to jail because I done did just so many times and got away with it. That's why when you get these people who do the white collar crime, once they face the reality of going to jail, what they do, they off themselves.
I see that analogy. I just think that, it's a duality to fear, right? Like I said, even I'm like I said, there are exceptions to rules, right? But I truly believe that fear is it's a natural trait. It's just like good is a natural trait. It's a natural thing that's embedded in you. If you don't have that in you, how do you know that the opposite exists?
You don't until you experience it. The experience puts it in you. It's not naturally in you. Watch a kid. What do kids fear? Kids don't fear
Falling,
nothing until they experience. Even if you say
falling.
a kid crying because the parent not around, that's not fear. I don't believe like even my son. I always because I believe we should teach our kids emotional intelligence at a young age. So a lot of stuff that he fears is only because I gave him a reason to fear it. Like the stuff that he should fear, he don't fear it because he don't understand it. Like heights and running and jumping, he feared things like bees because I told him if I get stung, I can die. He wasn't afraid of bees until then. He used to try to grab them and touch them, but when I told him that, he was like, "Oh, he didn't know what die when he understood what death meant because it was a bird. He thought we can get the bird up and make it fly, and I'm like, no, it's gone forever. Like pop, pop, and nana. Like it can't come back. We gotta bury it. So he fears death because he knows once you die, you can't come back no more. Now. But before that, like when he watched his grandmother and his pop pop, he just thought they was asleep. He kept asking me when
Mm,
they coming back. But when I explained to him like you can't come back after you die, then he was like, "Oh, they never come back, like never. I can never see him again." No. And now when things die, he gets sad. It's still not fear. It's sadness. It's not
mm,
even fear. It's still sadness because even when I tell him like certain things can happen and you die, he don't have fear with it. It's sadness. But yeah, fear. I mean, I understand what you're saying because even do you know in slavery days, before like they'd take a pregnant woman and they'd take the man like when she 9 months and they off the man in front of her and then they cut the baby out of her just to release the chemicals that fear release into your body and make sure the baby got in it before they extracted it. That's that was their way of putting fear into kids. So even that experiment or that technique that they did, for me, it showed in Dr. Person Weasley, it showed that fear is not something that's in us; it's something that's put in us.
Okay. Well, do you think there's a duality to fear?
It's duality exists in everything. Um,
Okay, so could you elaborate on the duality of fear? I think I tried it, but I would like to hear your perspective of the duality of fear.
so with me, nothing is really truly good or bad because it's duality. It has both aspects. So it's how you utilize it or how you perceive it or how you go about it. So even fear, for me, fear can be transmuted into motivation, inspiration, confidence. Is for me, fear is just simply an indicator that I don't know or I'm unaware or I'm unprepared. That's what fear is for me. It's nothing to stagnate me or stop me. It's just showing me like, hey, I'm unaware of this. I'm not prepared for this. These are all the feelings I get when I'm like, I don't really fear, but when I do fear something, these are all when once I analyze why I'm afraid, these are the things that come up. Either I don't know, I'm unprepared, or I'm really those are two things. Unknown, unprepared, or yeah. So it's more of an indicator. So when you say the duality, it can take you up or down. It's just how you choose to perceive it. But I don't think it's good or
Mhm.
bad. I don't think it's something people. The problem is people experience fear and the fear takes over them. They don't control the fear, so people
Yeah,
get stuck
because
in that state. But it's just an
right,
indicator. All your feelings and emotions are just indicators.
right. So like if people believe, for example, if people are taught to fear, right, they they only see the negative connotation of that word. So the fact that we're talking about there can be a positive side to it, even if we call it another thing, it's still a fear. Like you said, motivation. That's the positive side of fear. The energy, the elevation of energy. That's a positive side of fear. So that's why I try. I was saying that there's a duality to a thing. So how does like? Do you believe that you could overcome the fear by just trying to attack said fear?
It depends what you got to identify. You know, it's no everything is a process. I mean, because you if it's something that like if I'm afraid of heights, like you mentioned earlier, okay,
Hmm.
why am I afraid of heights? Because if I go up there, I may fall to my death. Okay, let me take a parachute. Okay, let me go up here and see how high it really is. I mean, it's different ways you can attack it, but okay, I'm afraid of heights. I just don't go to heights. I just don't go. I mean, it's different ways you can go about it. It's how you allow it to either control you or you control it.
Yeah, I just think I think as long as you don't attempt to overcome it, the fear the fear is always going to exist in the negative concept or that negative aspect of a thing. If you're afraid of heights, go to the second floor and see if you're still bothered by it. You have to do the little things in order to see if that fear is attackable or it could be overcame or overcame. So in order for that to happen, you have to make the attempt at least, though. Correct?
But see, that's what. Why are you afraid of heights? You see what I'm saying? Are you afraid of heights because you watch somebody fall to their death? Are you afraid of heights because when you get high, you may have blood pressure issues, and when you get high, your blood pressure drops. That's why you're afraid of it. So first, I think the important people don't identify things. They don't know why. They just know they are. They know what I feel fear because of this, but they don't know why. They can't even define why, and that's the bigger problem. Because once that's figured out, now you have you can create a plan of action. What, mom?
This is the word
We got a
with
claim.
his
Don't worry about it.
what and why analogy, and it's understandable, right? It's not he's saying it's not what is the problem, but why is it a problem? That's what he's saying. Am I on the right concept of the what and why of this topic?
That's how you solve problems is why. People like most people only understand, and that's what. Okay, what heights are bad? Why are heights bad? Well, because they can't explain that. Like, really look at what do you fear? I can solve. Like, tell me what they fear. I'm gonna show you exactly what I'm talking about. Anybody, tell
Rejection.
me what you fear. You said
Rejection.
what?
I'm gonna just throw it out there. Rejection.
Okay, you scared of rejection. Why? Why are you afraid of rejection?
I don't like to be told no
Why don't you like to be told no?
because I like to be told yes.
Why do you like to be told yes? You still answering me with what's? Why do you like to be told yes? This is what I'm showing you how we identify things.
So what if I say it makes me feel good to be told yes?
Now we get into the why. Now we get into the
Oh,
why. So
go
you
ahead.
like to be told yes because it feels good. Why does it
Right.
feel good?
I can't explain that. It just feels good.
That's the problem right there. You can't explain why it feels good.
Uh
Now
huh.
you have to figure that out because that's how you will figure out why you don't like rejection.
Mm.
You have to get like when we if I say I'm afraid of speed, like I don't like being in cars that's going fast. Why don't you like being in cars that go fast? No, I'm gonna use your rejection. I'm gonna just use it from my standpoint. You know why
Hmm.
I didn't like rejection? Because I didn't like the way it made me feel being
Uh
rejected.
huh.
I didn't like
Hmm.
being told no because it made me feel bad. Why did it make me feel bad? Because it felt like I wasn't getting what I want. Okay, now I'm getting down to it. So I didn't get what I want, right? What makes that so bad that I didn't get what I want? Because it's something that I desire. But now I have to look at it. It's coming from someone else. Okay, if I desire something, if I want something, even if it's companionship, I want this person to accept me, right? They don't want to accept me. What makes me not, okay, that person is not for me because I want to be accepted by someone who wants me. So I understand now that it's going to be a trial and error type thing. That's how I got over my personal feelings of rejection. I understood, but I had to identify why it made me feel bad. Because you have to be honest with yourself. We all have selfish ass desires. We like to feel good, and sometimes we want other people to make us feel good. That's just the reality. That's why we
Hmm.
interact with people. So if I know that, I need to put myself around complimentary people who will give me the same thing I'm giving them. And it's okay when I get around people who reject me because they're not for me. That's how I got over rejection.
So what? What? Why do people fear? Why do people fear success? Why do you think that?
It comes with different certain, everybody's different, so I say
Hmm.
different reasons. Once again, I can give you my reason, and it's gonna be similar but not the same as other people's reasons. But my fear of success was not the fact that I get more responsibilities. When you become successful, you gain more responsibilities. You're responsible for more things. That wasn't my fear. My
Hmm.
fear was I didn't want the popularity, and I still don't. I don't want the spotlight. So if I become successful in anything, people are going to be looking at. Me. I don't want that attention. Why don't I want that attention? Because I had that before. And you know what people do? People put you on a pedestal just to knock you off. It's like one of them games when you go to the carnival and you sitting on that thing and they hit the thing and you fall in the water. That's what people did to me. They put me on a pedestal and knocked me off. And it's like no matter how good I've been, no matter how genuine, none of that matters. This is just motives of people. And once again, I had to understand like that's just a part of life. It's gonna be people like that, but it's gonna be people also who appreciate. So this is I'm still like working that up, and
So
how
do
do
you
I
feel?
don't fear it. So, but now I'm taking action towards it. Now I'm putting different things in place to make me more prepared and comfortable for it. You see what I'm saying? But at one point, I did fear success, and that's why.
How different is fear from being afraid? Do you think there's a difference there?
No, I think it's just a, a variation. I think it's just another way. I don't think it's even a synonym because most synonyms have more profound meanings, but fear and afraid, I just think fear is what you are, afraid is what exists. Like that's you in the moment.
Good afternoon, Prez. Good afternoon, Miss Chicago. Yeah, I
What
do
up,
have a
Paris, Miss
channel.
Chicago?
I just like we're talking about fear, right? You know, uh, sometimes people have a fear of coming out of their comfort zone, meaning that's all they know. So, how do they combat that?
Why are they there? You,
Because I mean,
before you,
it
before
goes back
people,
to go ahead.
no, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that's gonna go back to the same thing of feeling good. They're at ease with themselves in their comfort zone. I don't think that may not be the same as feeling good, but it's a feeling of ease, whether we understand that or not, or understand their at easeness or not. So how do they overcome that?
What if they feel good? Why come out of it?
That's that's what I'm saying. So that's why a lot of people don't want to leave their little circle or their square or their comfort zone. Is
They
it
live in
is it
there.
because they fear what else could be added? Like to me, it's like you don't come out your comfort zone because you're afraid of the unknown because it's unfamiliar to you. When you're in a comfort zone, you're familiar with it. When you come out of your comfort zone, it's unfamiliar territory. So to me, that's like the unknown for somebody. What do you say to that?
I would say I would. I like me honestly. It's case by case. I would have to see is this person complaining about something.
Mm,
Like if they not
I,
complaining, shit, leave them there. Like if a person is comfortable where they at in life, I just leave them there. But if they complaining, I want this, I want to get better, I want to do this, and they comfortable, then yeah, it's like, well, why ain't you doing stuff, right? That's when I start looking at it like that. Um, and even then, it's like if a person is comfortable, they might just like you say, like you gave me this. Some people's peace is not is peace. You know, how do you say it? Sometimes people peace.
some people pieces chaos.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, you it's just identifying that. Like I would have, like I said, it's case by case because when you like, especially like for you, for me, like we like helping people. Sometimes people will
Hmm.
be asking for help, but it's not help that you can give them, and it's not help that um what they won't help with is chaos. That's what they won't help
Mm.
with. They want more chaos. They don't want you to help them out of it or away from it. They want you to help them do it. They want you to help. They want you to help them expand nation. Nah, nah. So you got to be careful of that. Like even helping because a lot of times, especially I'm just learning on this app, man. Like you said, some people's peace is chaos. and no matter how it's presented, I don't care how you, if you take some poop and put it in a 24 karat gold box and put a diamond studded ribbon on it, it's still poop inside. You feel me? So no matter how you present
Yeah.
it, chaos is chaos.
Man, I mean, like for me, I fear the chaos. I don't want it. You know what I mean? So what do? I try my best to stay away from it because I don't think it's plausible for it, it goes against what I am, what I do. So I fear that aspect. So pretty much it's like a polarizing thing to be pulled into something like that. But I fear it, like I said, because it doesn't suit me per se. You know what I mean? If we're sitting there trying to help people, I'm not fearing the fact that I don't succeed all the time because the fact that I try it supersedes my fear. Like meaning that the fear is eradicated because I tried it. Is that a good way to look at it, or how would you look at it from that aspect?
Like I would look at it, is it necessary? I don't think it is. Um, but it's something that exists, right? So it ain't going nowhere. Even like I said, I didn't feel like I fear anything until I had my kids. So that's when I understood fear is experience fear. But like you said, I just feel like replace fear with education, preparation. That's what I replace fear with. Ignorance. If I can't, then I become ignorant to it. But I mean, if I feel it, I identify it, and I transmute it. I do something about it, take action. So then it's gone. Now I'm prepared for that when it comes. Like, I don't see the purpose of fearing. Like, people use God and fear. Like, you have to fear God to do right by God. That don't make sense to me. If I love God and respect God, why do I have to fear Him to do right by Him? I'm gonna do right because I love and respect. I appreciate. I'm grateful. Like my parents. I don't fear my parents. Like both my parents right now, they couldn't. Because I'm their son because they raised me right. I'm gonna listen and I obey my parents. But they can't make me. They can't force me. Neither one of them can force me to do it. I'm not a kid. They can't whoop me. What they gonna do? I'm bigger than them. I'm stronger than them. I'm faster than them. What they gonna do? Nothing. But they don't need to because they did all the right things. I don't fear my parents. I respect them. I obey them. Even now, like them, my parents. If they say, "Hey," like when my wife wanted to get something, she called my mom. You know, them always gonna be my parents. Yeah, I'm telling. Even my dad would get on me. I'd be like, all right. Yeah, I'm telling you. My wife be trying, like, she tried to get me to go to the hospital a couple times. I'm like, I ain't going to the hospital. My mama, like, I'd be right over there. I'm like, Mama, don't come. I'm coming. I'm going. I'm going. I'm going. 20 minutes later, my mama sitting right there, like, get in the car. Come on, we're going to the house. And sit there with me. I'm like, Mom, go home. Shut up. I'm like, shit.
So you
Wake me up
saying
when
that's
I get home.
more of a so are you saying that's more of a respect than a fear?
Yeah, I don't fear my parents. What am I fear my parents for? I
No,
never
no,
feared
no.
my parents, bro. I fear, what I feared? I feared of disappointing my mother. That was my biggest fear. And when she told me I couldn't do that, bro, that was like the biggest burden lifted off my chest. That was like the biggest burden because it's like when you're young, you dumb. But as you mature, I start noticing all the sacrifices she made for me, right? And then it was like, dang, okay, I gotta do right because she could have did more. But she kept me. She was 16 when she had me, bro. Like you kept me
Mm.
and you know, um, you nurtured me. You put me always, even now. Man, if I call my mom, she'll break her neck to try to do whatever for me. That's just how she is. So I mean, I'm grateful. Well, I don't need to fear that. Why would I fear love?
Listen,
Even
you know what? That's crazy that you said that, right? Because I just thought about that, right? While you were saying it, right? So like I told you, I had a family reunion, right? And so you was you would think because you love these people so much that they would do as they used to do. But now that I come to an understanding, it was a respect thing that they was doing the things that they did and not a fear. Now people could go ahead and act sideways towards it, right? So in other words, you know, I tell people if you love that lost one that you just lost, you're gonna honor them by doing the things that you do. So
Mm-hmm.
just because they're gone, it's easy for you not to feel disappointment because they're no longer present in your life. Shiki, good afternoon. You understand what I'm saying? And that's a realization that really is trash to me, because at the end of the day, if we're gonna turn the respect, if we turn fear into respect, that respect should never be lost because they're gone. They're still, if they was that much of an influence in your life, they still reside in you. So why be disrespectful, or why lose the fear after they're physically not here? You understand what I'm saying?
But people disconnected from themselves and look at the things and like people disconnected from themselves. How can you feel somebody's still with you if you think everything is without you? You're not going like people like bro. I ain't even gonna get into it, but if people really knew who they are and practice what they supposed to, they'd be a lot better off. They think clear. Like I said, we indoctrinated to think in threes. We
Hmm.
indoctrinated, and that's how most people perceive things. And then like a third dimension, but we fifth dimensional beings supposed to be shifting in the sixth. I ain't trying to get to go over your head, but that's why I preach and teach the way I do.
Oh no, you
Like
good.
if
Cause you good, because that's my next question. How much fear is that? How much fear plays into a role of the unknown of who we really are? How much fear, like that? That's a real fear for some people. That is a real fear, because if you know you could be great and are afraid of it and you fear it, you won't become great. You won't become who you are. You won't know who you are. You understand? That's just like somebody saying that God is within me, right? If God is within you, why are you afraid to portray the God-like attributes that was already embedded in you? What are you afraid of? There's a fear that's holding you back from becoming who you supposed to be. That's why I'm saying fear exists. That's why I'm telling y'all, if you turn that fear into the excitement of a motivation, how much of God can I be? Or how much greater can I be? You turn it into a motivation. You shoot for it. You strive for it. Many people believe they can. They tell people to reach for the stars. It's physically impossible, but people still try it. So why not apply the rest of that to your life? What do you? What do people fear the most in
mm,
trying to achieve that?
my bad, I didn't
No,
shut
it's
up on
okay.
mute when I was talking to myself.
Hmm.
What is you doing, boy? He's trying to get me to go to
Yeah,
emergency, man.
Oh, okay. But I'm just saying, when you have that attribute of being a higher level of self, you allow fear to stop you from becoming that greatness, or that greater person, or that better person. That's why I say improve, because if you improve, fear has no place for improvement. It has no, it doesn't belong with improvement. You see what I'm saying? That's why I don't use change, because when you change, fear is like right there. What you used to say, if you think you if you think a thing, it leaves doubt. It's the same thing with change and fear. What you think about that?
I agree. I mean, me personally, bro, I don't see. I mean, it exists, like you said. It ain't going nowhere. So, educating yourself, preparing yourself. I think those are two steps that anybody can take. And, you go about it different ways, but if you take those two steps, you'll eradicate it. It won't exist. And like I said, for me, it's an indicator. It doesn't last long. It's just there to tell me I need to either prepare um or accept. Sometimes it's just some shit in life you gotta accept. Like it's like people afraid of death because they don't know what's coming afterwards. That's not gonna stop you from dying. Death is gonna happen. So just accept it. Just accept it. And that
But
shit is freeing, bro. That shit free you. Like, look, it's
but
gonna happen.
that's crazy, right? But even with that being said, right, there are people that will go through the extremes not to find out what death is. You know what I mean? Like they'll do the extremes and stay alive. You know what I mean? Like extreme is to where I only gonna drink water, this and this. Like you go through the extremes, and when you go through extremes, I don't think you get the full enjoyment of a thing because you are so afraid or you are fearing that unknownness of death. So, you know, I just believe that there's different things that people fear, the unknown, the conscious, and things like that. The conscious being, I fear I fear going through the woods because of the thing. Whether we agree that or whether we disagree, it's alert behavior or natural. The fact is, for a lot of people, fear exists for whatever, however it's embedded in them. You know what I mean?
I, I guess, looking from an observational standpoint, I would have to agree fear is embedded in society and people in general. I just don't think it's needed. I just don't see the purpose for it. Use it for what it's supposed to be, as an indicator. That's it. Because like this don't make sense to me. Like even what you were saying, like people dedicate their life to try to live forever. Are you if you trying to find ways to live forever and you go die regardless, did you even really live? Like when people die doing what they love to do, that's living to me. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Right.
when you life is about experience, right? Expanding consciousness. Like every generation adds something. If it's good or bad, it's something added. So influences go happen. So expansion of consciousness is why we live. But if you just trying to live forever, then that defeats the purpose. The cycle is like that's not natural. It's just not. I mean, so why focus on that instead of just focusing on creating? We're an extension of the creator, man. That's not that's just what we do. No matter as long as humans come on and we go build, we go do this, we go do what's necessary to survive. But as we do that, we begin to create different things, arts, music, dancing, sports, We was just creating to survive and then we start getting innovative. Okay, we survived it. Now we want to be entertained. Now we want to feel this emotion. So now we create this. It's the mass majority of people lost that. It's the special people now who still do that, the free thinkers, because most people just go to school and get a degree and they don't even use their talent. They go for something that they either told to go for or something that makes money. So we got away from that free creative. And when people do create good stuff, people steal it and they hide it. And you're supposed to have free energy, bro.
Hmm. It ain't even free no more. That energy is that energy is brought, but not by money. That's a crying shame. So by ending this, what is your last perspective of fear? Let everybody know what your concept. Well, not your concept. What do you think about it as a whole, and and can it be possible to overcame?
I got tattooing on my body. Pain is weakness. Death is inevitable. I can replace pain with fear. Fear is a weakness. So, at that point, you gotta get rid of it. It depends where you at in life, honestly. But fear is you only fear things because you're unaware, you're unprepared. So, you just gotta educate yourself.
Shout out to my 33 brother. Nah, that's
Yeah, bro.
I ain't going to reveal his real name on in the back chat that he has. I'm gonna let somebody else reveal that. But y'all check him
Oh,
out. If y'all
Master
not
Splinter.
subscribed to this band, yeah, dang, okay, you said it then. Good, I'm cool. Master Splinter
Uh,
to some of us because he see things in different perspectives, and it is a very unique aspect, and it applies to a lot of situations, and it can apply to a lot of people's lives. For those of you that are not subscribed to him, y'all check him out, man. Y'all go review one of his videos, whether it's his channel, The Word 9%, or even his other channel, Petty Vision. Y'all go ahead and check him out if y'all not subscribed to him. I appreciate you coming up, Word. And my final word is as far as the fear, we have allowed fear to control our lives. We have allowed fear to dictate to us. And here's the end all be all. We cannot let we cannot be dictated to because we are dictators, and dictators overrule dictations. So, with that being said, we can all overcome fear. We just have to find a way to do it and overcome it. I appreciate everybody coming through. Uh, I thank y'all for the support. If y'all not subscribed to one another here, y'all check each other out because we all have a thing to be connected to in life. Whether it's Cheeky in her history, Prez in his investment, uh, Tay and her many cultural aspects, whether it's cooking, you know, life paths, and anything like that. Who am I missing? I said Cheeky, Tay, and I'm waiting for my other people to get up here. Miss Chicago, we expecting for you to be a blessing. Atmosphere, he's long overdue. Watermelon Sugar, she's a makeup artist. Y'all subscribe to her. I seen her in the chat. It's a lot of us that if we believe that we can do something and we can help, we got to overcome the fear of failing. So, with that being said, y'all, we can't allow fear to dictate to us. We are the dictators of our own lives. And like I just said, dictation cannot overrule a dictator. So, until next time, guys, I'm out. I appreciate y'all. One.